I was on the beach, playing volleyball in the sand. A pickup game of random people. Anyone who wanted to play was welcome. Anyone with ability. If you stood and watched the ball drop in front of you, you weren't playing. You'd be voted off the team, and you'd be replaced. 5-1, your turn is done. My side won the serve, and I rotated in pattern to the front left. There's a ritual of bending down and shuffling one's feet, shuffling the sand flat so that the first step in whatever direction is secure. Sand, once it's been played on, becomes a topographical nightmare. Feet fight to find traction in the sand as it slithers out to the side with each step. It's kind of like running in an inch of thick mud, except for the surprise of stepping into an existing footprint. That's already solid. Being sure-footed on the shifting sand is a base-level skill. On the other side of the net from me was a buxom young lady. She was wearing a pink bikini top, Hot Lips rose lipstick, designed to be seen across a dimly lit bar, jean shorts, and beach shoes. Her hair was tied in a pony behind her. The breeze had teased it into a tangle that would require conditioner before combing. The sun was sweat-inducing. The sea breeze was the only way we could play hard. She bent down, hands clasped in front of her in the proper pattern, and she flexed her weight from side to side to set her footing. This caused her jugs to jiggle, which caused me to be distracted. "Excellent stance," I said, admiring the player I was opposite. "Thank you," she said, and wobbled again wonderfully. She did that on purpose. She knew what she was doing. Yeah, she'd distracted guys before. "My mind's writing checks your body won't cash," I said. "I might," she said, teasing me with a smile. I bet she had painted fingernails, but her hands were clasped, so I've no idea as to the color. Likely something to match the war paint on her lips. $1.35, I said. She laughed. "No, not going to the bank to cash that." Wise choice. My signature would be worth more than the executed document. "Whatever," she laughed. My teammate served the ball. It whizzed 2 feet over the net, and it dropped just inside their back line. Dig, set, spike, and my back line picked it up. Our center took the second hit and set it to me. I jumped, and their center and Busty jumped to block. Their center was a tall guy, so there was no getting past him. Busty was exactly where she needed to be to make spiking the ball in her direction problematic. If she blocked the ball, my momentum would take me out of position to dig it before it hit the ground. To deny her this option, I dinked the ball over her hands, so that it would fall behind her. I wasn't going to let her smash my spike back, but to do that, I gave up my spike. It was a judgment call by the guy who was hanging in the air. Her back line saved her. 3 steps and a dive, and his hands are beneath the ball before it hits the sand. One nice thing about landing on sand is you're not going to break bones. A bit of rug burn is the worst you'll get, or maybe sand in your eyes. For sand in the eyes, there's water and a replacement player stepping in from the canting crew. The player who'd come from the back line to save the ball knew what he was doing, but his execution wasn't perfect. He'd closed his eyes just a moment before he splash landed in the sand. A gust of sea breeze caused his aim to falter. Instead of popping the ball up to the center to deal with, Busty stepped to the sideline. She called "setting" as she passed the ball back to the center. That made the center the spiker, and being tall, he was okay with that. A fraction of a second after he jumped up to spike the ball, I left the ground. That would give me more time above the net to block. But he spiked anyway, counting on speed and force to get past me. To make matters worse, he was spiking left-handed. The ball stopped, above the net, trapped for a moment between our hands. And now that fraction of a second came back to bless me. We were both coming back to earth, but his hand was dropping faster. Knowing the outcome if nothing changed, he adjusted his tactic in mid-spike. Rather than pushing the ball forward towards my side, he pushed with the heel of his hand and tried to move the ball up and over me. I moved my hand to the right and rolled the ball to my thumb, and that pushed it down on his left pinky. He had no force there, and the ball dropped to the ground on his side. It didn't fall fast, but he couldn't hit it a second time, and he couldn't get out of the way to let a teammate get to the ball. "You didn't lose that point," I said. "I won it." "Serve the damn ball," he said, as he threw the ball under the net to our server. He backed up to his starting position, settling into his stance like a sumo wrestler. I stepped into my possession, and Busty tilted her shoulders left and right as she bent forward, totally accidentally making her forward-facing features fluctuate in a fascinating fashion. Oh yeah, she knew what she was doing, and I liked it. I wake up, I write it down. There was more, but volleyball, like most sports, is far more interesting to play than to watch. I'll point out that while Busty was very feminine indeed, I couldn't remember what color her fingernails were, nor what her name was. I'll also point out that the game is a form of ritual combat, a way to fight without giving or taking damage. What are we fighting for? Certainly, I wouldn't get to take Busty home with me as a prize. Perhaps we're fighting because, as a species, we have to fight. It's just a part of who we are. I'll need to think about this thesis more deeply to articulate the argument.